Rise and shine on Australia's Vision Christian Radio.
We are so blessed, Des, to have a special guest with us. His name is Shaun Hart. He's a former AFL star. Not just a player, he's a star. He won 3 premierships with the Brisbane Lions. He also won the Best and Fairest award in the AFL there, and we might hear a little bit more about that. But Shaun Hart, welcome this morning to Rise and Shine.
Oh, thanks, Des and Andy. Good morning and good to be with you.
Now, you're going to have to forgive us because Des and myself are both not AFL fans, but that's the Brownlow Medal, isn't it? I couldn't remember what it was. The Brownlow Medal is that award you won for the best player in a grand final, isn't it?
No, it's actually called the Norm Smith Medal. The Brownlow is for the competition's best player across the year.
Oh, there you go. So you won the Norm Smith Medal, correct?
Yes, that's the player of the grand final. So I was fortunate enough in 2001 to be given that award.
Amazing, mate. And you won 3 premierships. I mean, how many people can say that in any code of football? That's just incredible. But, Shaun, today we've been asking people questions, have you been through a tough time? If you have, what's the best piece of advice you've received? But before we get onto that with you, mate, tell us your story. How did you become a Christian?
Yeah, well, I was all caught up in, and my whole life and identity and purpose was all built on becoming a rich and famous AFL footballer. And I got drafted in about 1990, and I came to the Gold Coast. And my early time was just learning about how hard it was to play professional sport in the physical, mental, and spiritual, in all 3 dimensions of my being. And I remember getting to a point in the second season of my career where I just was exhausted. I wasn't even sure whether I was going to get a new contract to keep going. And I started to really question what is the true meaning and purpose of my life. It can't be about football, which probably or possibly could fade away quickly and going to fade away at some time anyway. And yet I'm building everything on it. And so I started to search a bit for a deeper meaning, deeper purpose to my life. And I fortunately met a lady now, Linda, who is now my wife. Met her a long, long time ago, and she was a Christian, a lady who just, oozed out joy and faith, and she was just an amazing woman. And I just saw in her some stuff that I clearly knew was missing in me, and I wondered what that was. And
well, hang on, let's stop there, Shaun. Let's stop there because you are fairly well known at this time. You're playing professional football, AFL, which, in Melbourne, it's like a religion, and you had money, had success, and you're saying that this lady's Christian joy, that simple joy in her heart, was something that drew you because you felt like you didn't have that.
Absolutely. I thought the joy would come through, playing professional sport and the pursuit there, but I just found it exhausting, to be honest, and it was really stressful, and pressure and all of the things that life can throw at us was certainly heaping up on me for sure. That's exactly what it felt like. Yeah, and she just showed me a different life, a new life, a life where there's a greater meaning and purpose to who she was, her identity and her purpose, and she wasn't pursuing anything like I thought I was, and yet she had so much more joy.
Isn't it amazing how that can happen? You think in the corporate world or the sporting world that the world is your oyster and everything's going to be happy and a bed of roses and you're making lots of money and you're doing whatever you're doing. But at the end of the day, that's empty. Because you need to have more, and you have to have more, and you have to have more. You need to play better. You need to be in a better team or whatever that looks like. But then something very simple like somebody who shows the grace of God, who loves life, who loves doing the simple things in life, shines in your face. That's
amazing.
Really cool.
Amazing, Shaun. So tell us then, mate, how did you actually meet Jesus? Where did that happen? Did you go to a church service, or did this lady share with you? What happened, mate?
Yes, Linda invited me to her church on the Gold Coast, and I went along. I was definitely pursuing her at the time, and yet I that day I found exactly what I needed, what was missing in my life, and that was the love of God, the knowledge that there is a God who loves me, that created me on purpose for His purpose, and that through Jesus Christ I could have a true relationship with this God. And I heard an incredible testimony of a European lion tamer by the name of Case Shragi, and he talked about putting his head into the mouths of lions and working with orcas and all sorts of stuff, but ultimately talked about the meaning and purpose of his life and coming to faith and to follow Jesus and knowing the love of God and understanding his identity in that, and that was that was clearly what I was missing. I just heard what I needed to hear. And then at the end of the sermon, the preacher said, you know what, you could be a footballer with all the fame and fortune you ever wanted. I was amongst 300 people, and I knew he was speaking straight to my heart. And yet, what would it be worth if you sold your soul to get all of that? And I thought, that's exactly what I do. That's the life I'm living at the moment, and that's not the life that's bringing me joy and freedom and peace. And so I decided that day with another 3 people to follow Christ, and it's the greatest decision I've ever made. There's no doubt about it. It solved the deeper yearning in my heart about who I was and my meaning and purpose.
Man, Shaun, it's a message for the whole of Australia, because right now so many people, especially young people, think if I just become famous, a TikToker or a YouTuber, and if I just make a lot of money, my life will be fulfilled. And here's you. You've hit the pinnacle of sport, mate. You've won 3 premierships with the Lions. You were very well known back in the day. You made a lot of money, and it's only Jesus that's given you this sense of joy and peace, mate. What an amazing story. Shaun, can I ask you to hang around, because I want to ask you a question after this break, and that is, the best piece of advice you've ever received in a tough time. If you're just joining us, this is Shaun Hart, former AFL star, Brisbane Lions player. They won 3 premierships. They were almost unbeatable back in the day, and he actually won best and fairest on grand final day in one of those games. He's with us now on Rise and Shine. Stick around, more to come from Shaun Hart. You're with Des and Andy today.
Love the Rise and Shine podcast? Tell a friend today.
A very special guest. His name is Shaun Hart. He won 3 premierships as an AFL player with the Brisbane Lions, even won the best and fairest on grand final day, reached the pinnacle of his sport. And just earlier, he shared with us how he met Jesus. And Shaun, I'm so glad you stuck around. And I want to ask you a question, Shaun. Obviously you became a Christian, which is amazing. But on your life journey, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given when you're going through a tough time?
Well, funny enough, I think I did come to faith, but shortly after that, I had a real challenge, and it was a faith crisis, really, and so I was challenged because my performance dropped away, and I found myself actually so unwell, so depressed, funny enough, for about 6 weeks, because I was so out of form and so fearful of losing the thing that I was building my whole identity, my whole purpose on, my football. And so I was only young in faith. I didn't know really how to activate and believe and understand how to work through this time. And it was through my wife, Linda, and our football club chaplain, Dean Davis, who I credit much of my own life story to, that he gave me some advice. And that advice literally was that my performance is never truly my identity. So I can't find my identity in performance. In other words, it is part of who I am, no doubt. What we do is part of who we are, but the love of God ultimately is where we need to find our true identity. And I didn't know that, but I understood through Dean and through his ministry to me in the my time of need, where for 6 weeks I would tuck myself under my sheets in my bed. I just didn't want to face the world. I didn't want to go to football training, but he encouraged me and just helped me understand that the love of God is my true identity, that I can't find my true identity in performance. And so that has been the greatest bit of advice I've had, no doubt about it, and has helped me. What it helped me do from there, clearly, is actually continue to play football at a high level, but without the fear of losing that, but understanding that I was playing for the glory of God, and because God had me there for a greater reason than my own fame and my own fortune.
I mean, it's really great. There's 2 messages there. One is, you find yourself with a great mate who understood you and wanted to get alongside you and help you through that journey. But the second is the advice that he gave, and that is get closer to God, find your identity in him rather than what you do. And so both of those are so powerful. Well done, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. I think that was the time, that I truly understood how to open my heart fully to Jesus and to let him truly lead my life and to trust him. Faith is truly about trusting him and knowing that no matter what, it's going to be okay. God is in control because, I think with our health and with things like I experienced in that period, our hearts and our minds can get so sick if we think the wrong things, if we believe the wrong things, and yet if we understand where our true identity comes from, our true purpose comes from, that the love of God is the most powerful force in the universe, and we all need it. We all need him. That that we will be okay in all circumstances.
Yeah, and a lot of people today, Shaun, go through what you're going through. Mental health is a major challenge, not only in Australia. If you study the whole Western world, about 20% of adults across the Western world now will suffer from some form of mental health challenge in their adult life. And that advice you were given was just so powerful. Number one, you listen to a good person. And number two, draw near to God, find your identity in Christ. I'm sure now you've turned the tables now and you're giving lots of good advice to people too, Shaun.
Well, thank you for that question. It's a great leading question. I love coaching. I think it's a thing that God has equipped me to do and given me passion for. So, and in my coaching and the coaching model I love is 3D or three-dimensional coaching, and it's about coaching people in all three dimensions of their being. And so in that we have a transformational purpose statement, and mine is to love and encourage people to discover their true identity and purpose and help others do the same. And so that's the why of my coaching, and that's the thing that drives me. And it all comes from my own experience, from my own dark times, and from my own understanding of the love of God and how critical it is to our well-being.
And it's so good you can speak into other people, because, I mean, you've been in those dark times, and you know, so many men and women, I guess, as well, go through those dark times where they don't see a way out, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And, you know, once you give them a vision of Jesus' role in their lives, that creates that light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. And they have hope.
Totally right.
They have a hope. They've got a future. They've got something to live for. And we talked to a guy called Wayne earlier who was talking about the fact that he sowed into other people's lives when he reached that dark point, and you've done exactly the same.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Shaun, I could talk to you all day, or more to the point, listen to you all day. I was basically in tears before when you shared your story about how you met Jesus. It's a story that the whole world needs to hear, because the whole world right now needs Jesus. But Shaun, I want to thank you so much for giving us your very valuable time this morning on Rise and Shine and sharing your salvation story, and also just some advice that you've been given and that you now give to others. And this is Shaun Hart, former AFL star, won 3 premierships with the Brisbane Lions, also won the best and fairest on the day of a grand final. And I want to thank you again, Shaun, for joining us this morning on Rise and Shine.
My pleasure, guys. All the best. Thank you.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.